I am a reader. I'm an eclectic reader. But I do other things besides reading. Right? Well, how well do you know me? Can I be defined by things other than reading? Hello, welcome to my channel. Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg. Today I'm doing 8 questions for readers created by RobertG, reader of books. This is not exactly a tag video. It is a video where readers and video creators are encouraged to answer some questions about their lives that have nothing to do with reading, just so you get to know us, our non-reading lives, a little better. Let me read you Robert's comment. Dear reader, we are a special breed, perhaps a vanishing species. In some not too distant future, there might be a generation which will live in a dystopian hellscape where there are no readers, where no one reads books anymore. And if there is any memory of us, we will be as mysterious to them as the stone heads of Easter Island. And so here are 8 very common questions, which will be made unique because of how we, readers, answer them, and which might help those poor future souls understand what we once were. It's a great way to think about it, because I do define a lot of my life around reading. And as Robert says, everyone and anyone is encouraged to answer these 8 questions. If you don't have a channel of your own, I'm sure you can go to Robert's video and leave your answers in the comments of his video, or you can leave them in the comments of my video, just so we get to know people a little bit better about how we do things other than reading. So here are his questions. Number 1, what is your favorite kind of food? My runner-up cuisines on food are German, Vietnamese, and Thai. But my favorite food is almost certainly Indian. I'm not sure exactly when I became enamored with Indian cuisine. It was a little later in my life, after I got married, so I was probably about 31 when I first discovered Indian cuisine. And there is something about the flavors of the Indian cuisine, the texture of the food, and even the way you're supposed to eat it that fascinate me. Now, I am going to show you some pictures of an Indian restaurant that I went to a few weeks ago. It is called the Taj. There are 2 Tajes here in Northern Virginia, one in Fredericksburg and one somewhere in Spotsylvania, which is a little bit north of Fredericksburg. And they're owned by the same people. So the first picture I want to show you is Indian beer. This is Taj beer from India. It comes in very big bottles. I think they're like 16 ounces, so a little more beer than you're used to. Or is it 24 ounces? I can't remember. I think maybe 24 ounces actually. So they're a big beer, and it's nice and tasty. Now, my cuisine that I like in Indian come in 2 different types. One is the curries, and I will show you some curries later, but this evening I bought a shish kebab, and I'll show you the picture. It is a lamb shish kebab. It is just minced spiced lamb and a very tasty, tangy sauce. I usually get mine spicy, but you do have to watch out when you go to an Indian restaurant, because some Indian restaurants put Indian spice levels in. They will go from 0 to 5, and if it is an Indian spice level restaurant, I recommend that you do not go over level 3. I sometimes go level 4, but it becomes really super spicy for me to eat. Now, you eat Indian food with naan bread. The traditional way to eat Indian food is you do not have forks, knives, or spoons. You scoop up your dish in your naan and eat it that way. Here's a picture of me eating my kebab with some naan bread. You can also do this with the curries. Now, in this dish, there is a butter chicken. This is a red dish. It is just chicken in a buttery, creamy red sauce. It is more traditional in Indian than tikka masala. Tikka masala is a very common Indian dish, but it's actually not authentic Indian. It is actually British. Now, here is another curry dish. This was ordered by our friend who went out to eat with us. I don't remember what dish it is called. It is some sort of chicken. Now, with your dish, you will, of course, get rice. And that is the traditional way you eat things, is with rice. And these are the pictures that I'm showing you on the wall. And I highly recommend, if you have never tried Indian cuisine, go out and try it one day. But do check your Yelp reviews, because some Indian restaurants really are not very good. I am fortunate that I have this Taj restaurant nearby, and they have 2 locations, and they serve excellent Indian cuisine. And lastly, I'm going to show you this picture. This is a picture of my leftovers. Now, when my wife and I go out to eat, we bring our own containers for leftovers because it is environmentally friendly to have leftover containers and not take the plastic from the restaurant. First of all, those plastic or styrofoam containers cost the restaurant a little bit of money, and it saves them a bit. Plus, when you get home, you don't have to throw that plastic or styrofoam in the trash. You just wash your plastic containers and take them out again when you dine out. My wife and I have been doing this for more than 10 years now, and it's amazing how appreciative some servers and owners of restaurants are, because they see that you're protecting their interest and protecting the environment at the same time. So I highly encourage people to get leftover containers when you go out to eat, if you are the type of person who has leftovers. If you're the type of person who eats the whole dish before you leave, then you don't need takeout containers. Number 2, what is your favorite kind of music? When I was growing up, there were factions in my household of what music was best. My father, he liked classical music. My mother, she liked the folk hillbilly type of music. My brother, he liked the hard classic, or what would become classic rock. And my sister liked pop, top 40 music. So I could not join one of those factions, and all the musical genres were basically taken, except for jazz. I wish someone had introduced me to jazz as a kid, so I could have had my own faction growing up. So I basically hit the teenage years and early adult without really listening to a lot of music. Occasionally I would listen to rock and roll, because that was just what was really popular back then in high school. But in my 20s, I started dating. Well, I say dating in a very loose sense. I had a brief relationship with a woman whose father was a famous classical pianist. I will not say his name, because a gentleman never tell. But dating this woman, going out with her for a brief time, I became enamored with classical music. And my love of that music stuck long after I dumped the girl, because she was a bit nutsy Fagin anyway. So my preferred is classical. I still like classical music a lot nowadays, but I don't listen to that music as much as I used to, because audiobooks have basically taken over any time when I would normally have been listening to music. Number 3, if you were prevented from reading ever again, what would you do? Well, why am I prevented from not reading? This question has to take that into consideration. Let's suppose I go blind. Well, I would still have my audiobooks, and I can take up listening to music again. I guess that's what I would do. But if there are other reasons, what if I am completely vegetative state after an accident? Well, I guess I'm not doing anything but laying in my bed and vegetate in my skull. But what if the authoritarian regime of the coming United States decides to take away all books? They make it so you cannot download books, and they send their goon squads into your house and take away your physical books. Well, in that case, I'm probably joining the resistance, the underground, and start fighting the authoritarian regime, which will probably mean I'd have to do some things which would be considered not legal today, involving, let's just say, firearms, Molotov cocktails, and other weapons of destruction. I would probably end up dead in one of those instances when I'm taking down the authoritarian regime, but I guess I would have to live with that. And those are just a couple of things that I would do if I were ever prevented from reading again. Number 4, favorite city. I'm having a hard time picking a favorite city. Unfortunately, I'm not very well traveled outside the United States, so I can't pick Paris or London or Berlin, which appeals to me, at least in my soul. In the United States, I would probably pick New York City because I love a lot of the literature written in and about New York City. When I was in my mid-20s, I did go for a job interview in New York City. I was living in Bethesda, Maryland at the time, and I could have gotten this job in Brooklyn, New York for a book distributor. I took my job interview, and I was with a friend, and we were driving around looking for a parking space, and we were kind of saying, this neighborhood looks a little sketchy. And I did very well in my job interview. They would have offered me a job. The pay was a little bit less than I was expecting. I would have had a hard time finding an apartment in Brooklyn or New York. I probably would have had to share a place. And I'm really not into sharing places. But the thing that really killed my ambition to move there was when I asked the interviewer, how far away are you from a subway? Oh, he said, 2 blocks. Oh, great, easy to walk. He goes, no, you're not allowed to walk to the subway. We will have a shuttle pick you up and take you to the subway. The neighborhood's too dangerous to walk in. And I didn't take the job. I kind of wish, even though it was a dangerous neighborhood, I'd taken the job and just settled in on taking that shuttle to and from the book depository in the subway station. They also warned me that I was going to be most likely the only Caucasian on that subway stop, and be mindful of what you say and do there. Another reason why I didn't take the job, but I really wish I had taken that job when I was a young man. Another city I wanted to move to is Chicago. My wife and I were living outside of Seattle, Washington, not in the city proper, in the suburbs. And we were getting ready to move from Seattle area back to Virginia. And I wanted to move to Chicago. My wife has a cousin who lives in Chicago. He lives in a very nice part of Chicago. I believe it is a Wordsworth building. There's a couple apartment buildings named after poets. His building was on the corner of Lincoln Park. And across from the other corner was this a history museum. Now, my wife's cousin is very well-to-do. He actually had a double apartment. When he bought the apartment, it had been originally owned by 2 gay men who lived next door to each other. And these 2 gay men formed a relationship, and they just knocked down the wall between their 2 apartments so they could be together all the time. And my wife's cousin bought the apartment. Technically, he bought 2 apartments, but it was a really nice apartment overlooking Lincoln Park. And I just fell in love with Chicago. Unfortunately, Chicago taxes are very high, and the fees in condos and apartments are also very high. So we decided not to move to Chicago. I kind of wish we had moved to Chicago. I think I would have loved living in that city. Number 5, favorite beverage. Alcoholic. Well, I do like my beer a lot. When I go out to eat at the Indian restaurants or a German restaurant or even a Thai restaurant, I like to order myself a beer. It goes well with dinner. So beer is very high, but I do not like traditional American beer. I'm not going for Budweiser. I'm not going for Miller Lite. I'm going for the microbrews or imported beers. Those are the type of beers that I really like. But I also really like tequila. I like this kind of tequila. Jose Cuervo Blue Agave. I can drink it straight. I don't need a lime. I don't need salt. I just like drinking my tequila. Number 6, favorite beverage, non-alcoholic. I love my sweet tea. I usually buy my sweet tea in the gallon called Milo's Tea. There are some other brands in my area that I can get occasionally, but right now my favorite is Milo's Sweet Tea. I can drink a gallon in about 2.5 days, maybe 3. Number 7, favorite time of day. I guess I'm a morning person. I like to get up just after dawn. And I think I like it so much is because after I do my morning chores, which is essentially feeding my cats and cleaning out their litter boxes, I go for a walk. And I love to walk in the morning with my audiobook playing in my ears. And I usually try to walk for half hour to an hour every day in the crisp morning air. During the summertime, it's not quite as pleasant to walk, so I walk a little bit less during the summer. But the early mornings, when the air is cool and I'm walking and listening to my audiobook, that is my favorite time of day. Number 8, favorite season. I like the autumn, the fall, when the air gets crisp and the leaves are starting to fall, and there's that, as I said, the chill in the air. You have to decide, will I wear a sweater today? Will I wear a light jacket today? You can feel the cold coming and that cool, cold air that's coming towards you. You're walking around in is just so pleasant. The days are getting shorter and it's quite nice. The spring, I like spring well enough with the green and growth appearing. The winter, I don't have a problem with winter. A lot of people do have a problem with winter because it's cold, but you know what you do when it's cold. You put on a winter jacket or put on a sweater. Problem solved. Summer, I have a problem with summer because it's hot and it's sticky and there's not much you can do to prevent yourself from being hot. I am fortunate in my community. There is a pool that I can go to, and it's okay to drop in the pool, take a bit of a swim, and cool down, but I still don't like the summer very much. Autumn, fall, that is my time of year. And those are the 8 questions for readers. I would like to thank RobertG, reader of books, for creating this non-tag video to get people to talk about themselves and what they do and what they like that is not necessarily revolved around books. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.